What is up, Pelham? I am Billy B, PHS's resident music expert, joined by my co-host Dylan Hammett.
What's up, guys? I'm PHS's second music expert.
And certified feminist, for those of you that didn't know, Deftones enjoyer, her drinks matcha on the side, maybe owns a little boo-boo or two, I don't know. But This is the start of a new music podcast for Pelham called Vinyl Verdict. What we do, we take 3 albums each week, we just talk about them. High points, low points, what we thought, best songs. We have an overall review at the end, and we start with Song of the Week. My Song of the Week for this week is going to be Underneath the Tree by Kelly Clarkson. It's about that time of year, you know. It's getting festive outside, and
Thanksgiving coming up first.
Thanksgiving is just like pre-gaming Christmas, if we're being honest. I mean, come on. Thanksgiving is when you eat all the food first before Christmas. It's when you start putting the tree up, mostly, it means for my family.
I already got my tree up.
Exactly.
I do it in September.
Exactly. Best Christmas song, I don't care, Underneath the Tree, Kelly Clarkson. You can fight me. Dylan, your song of the week?
I got Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. I just started getting into Pink Floyd, and I'll tell you, it absolutely changed me. As soon as I heard it, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Heard what Foster said about Pink Floyd. I was like, I'm going to listen to him, and it's only going up from here, so.
Pink Floyd is an absolutely amazing band. I do have a lot of love for Pink Floyd.
You're going to have to hook me up on some songs by them.
Hook you up some
underground songs.
Underground Pink Floyd songs. I'll look for a few. Now it's time to get into what we're really going to be talking about for the vast majority of this show. The albums. The first album we're going to be starting with is Igor by Tyler, the Creator. I'll let Dylan start since I know he has some very strong feelings about this album.
Absolute boo-boo album. It's not great. Solid, 4 out of 10. There's only 3 or 4 songs that I'll say these are playlist worthy, you could say, and I might go back and listen to the album, but probably not. New Magic Wand's okay. Running Out of Time's a good song, and Boy is a Gun is a good song, but other than that, it's hot trash.
Okay.
What would you say?
I'm gonna be a bit more in depth than that. If you would have asked me a year ago what I would have thought of this album, I would have been able to talk for hours about the complexities of it. I'm being so serious. I wrote a whole 3-page essay on how much I love this album junior year. And I think
it's a lot of glaze.
It is. I understand it is. And I have a much less glorified take on the album now. I think it is a solid 8 out of 10 album. I think it's Tyler's best work, and I think he may be able to make something like it again in the future, but he probably won't be able to replicate what I consider to be the genius of Igor, which is the sound. The sound has these bass synths that are juxtaposed by these really rich and harmonious melodies that instead of opposing each other and making, to me, what would usually be an ugly sound, it works surprisingly well. And it also has a lot of thematic value for what the album is trying to say. Story, I feel like a lot of people can relate to it. And that's what keeps me coming back to this album, is the story, if anything, of just relationship struggles at the end of the day. And I know, Dylan, you probably can't relate, because you don't like this album. You don't like this album at all. But no. I think it is genius, but I do think it has some flaws. I will say the sound gets repetitive. The sound is good, but it gets repetitive, and that's a complaint I have.
I feel like it all Tyler's albums kind of have the same kind of sound. There's nothing really different about any of it.
I could argue against that all day.
And I could say the same thing about Deftones. It's all basically the same stuff. So,
I mean, you go look at some of Tyler's earlier works, like Goblin, for example. Hate that album. I think it's terrible, and I'm glad he evolved out of that. But it has a wildly, vastly different sound to Igor, or something like Flower Boy. Flower Boy has a wildly different sound to Igor as well. Igor's very synthy, but I see what you mean, though. Chromacopia was a bit similar in some of the songs. But I think most of all, why I love this album is what he has to say about good and evil. So what he says about good and evil in this album, and this is like some really looking into it, so this might be a stretch. I might be grasping at straws. But the rich, harmonious melodies and the hard synths kind of contrast each other. Good, bad. He shows great moments of emotion on this album, love, endearing affection, but also like these crazy, crazy spats of jealousy and anger, good and bad. And so what he proposes with this sound and the ideas of the album is that maybe these two things aren't opposites of each other, but they're rather dichotomous and they coexist with one another as two sides of the same coin. And I think that's really quite an interesting thing. And looking at even the most minor details of the album, they all support that. But again, low points of this album. Repetitive. Very repetitive sound. I listened to this maybe once a day, every morning back in junior year. And now I can hardly listen to the full thing. I still think it's great, but I can hardly listen to the full thing.
Highs of the album is that it's different. I'll give it that. Tyler's very different from a lot of other artists. So, other than that, it's buns.
I would give this album a solid B+. I'm assuming Dylan's going to say...
I'll give it a C-.
C-, okay. That's a bit of a more agreeable rating for me. I thought he was going to say something crazy like a D. I'm not going to lie. Let's move on to the next record here. Break the Cycle by Stained. High point to this album. Love the guitar work. I appreciate guitar so much as an instrument. I think it's amazing. It's probably second coolest instrument behind the piano.
Drums are number one.
Drums are
coming
number
from
three.
a guy who, not to brag, but I do play the drums.
Not to brag, but he does play the drums, apparently. But this album, just like Igor, gets incredibly repetitive. For me, at least. I enjoyed my experience listening to this. Didn't love it. I was not super impressed. It wasn't anything I hadn't heard before. It just sounded like, I don't want to say recycled, but slightly different variation of maybe something like, I don't know, Skillet. If you know Skillet. You don't know Skillet?
No, I do know Skillet, and Skillet's not that bad, but it's nothing compared to Skillet. Skillet is like a 5 out of 10. These guys are a 9 out of 10.
Skillet is not a 5 out of 10. We can debate that later. But again, this album, repetitive. Just know that going in if you want to listen to it. It is all the same. It is all the same every song. It's been a while. Like, no. And the vocal work is a bit corny. I'm not going to lie. I would give this album a B-. That's where I'm going to settle. It's a good album. It's a good album. Not great, good.
I can respect the fact that you said that it's very repetitive, because it is kind of repetitive in a sense. All the guitar work, it's different, but it's all in the same boat, I feel like. But the best song on it, for you, just starting off, hearing the guitar work on that, it makes me want to start playing guitar. It makes me want to start listening to them more and getting off into their other albums, but it's an 8 out of 10. It's not their best album at all. I'll give it to Foster. He says Dysfunction is a better album. I think Dysfunction is, but it's a darn good album. It is a good album.
I'll have to give Dysfunction a listen sometime after school today. But so you would give this 8 out of 10. What would that equate to? Like a B, B+?
Well, a solid B, 84, 85 on the grade scale.
Yeah.
Not bad, not great, just good.
Getting into the final album here, probably my favorite of today's episode as we speak, Stankonia by Outkast. What a formative album for 2000s rap. I mean, Outkast is one of the greatest rap groups of all time.
Yeah, you can't hate on Outkast. So.
Right behind Wu-Tang Clan for me. I think Outkast, maybe their best album. I don't want to say that.
Most influential
album for sure. I don't want to say their best album. Is this like a top 20 hip-hop album of all time? Probably.
Yeah.
I'd put it in the top 20.
I'd put it in top 10 or 15. It's not even... I don't think it's an amazing album, but it's so influential. Miss Jackson, what's the other song on there?
Bombs Over Baghdad, which is my pick for
there you go.
Favorite song off of that thing. Bombs Over Baghdad, I was with my dad in the car when I was 5. He was playing that. It got me turned, I'm not going to lie. Well, 5-year-old me in the car seat just...
5-year-old Billy B was getting it down and getting it dirty in the in the cars listening to Stankonia.
I was going crazy listening to Bombs Over
He was going
Baghdad,
crazy
dude.
to it.
But getting into a more serious topic and discussion about this album, it sounds a lot like 2000s rap, but that's because it literally is the basis of 2000s rap. None of it would have sounded like what it sounded like if it weren't for Outkast making this album, and I will die on that hill. It is such... What it does best is it keeps things fresh. I can go back to this album and I can listen to it maybe multiple times in a day, and it doesn't get repetitive for me. You have some great songs on there. Bombs Over Baghdad obviously being my favorite, but if I were to give this album a grade, this would be my first A+ of the show. I think this is an absolutely exceptional album. I think maybe not Outkast's best. There is one Outkast album I'd put above it. A lot of other rap albums I'd put above it. But it is maybe not perfect, but it is close to it.
Yeah, was not my favorite album. I think it's better than Igor 100%.
Oh, for sure.
Just the classic. Yeah, it's going back and looking at it. It's a classic, you know? Best song on it is, I can't say the full name, but We Love These Girls. I think it's hilarious just listening to it. And Miss Jackson, classic. Everyone knows Miss Jackson. Everyone can
song.
vibe to Miss Jackson.
Great song.
Used to listen to Matty B. Raps singing Miss Jackson, and that kind of hooked me up with Outkast. Red Velvet, good song. Gasoline Dreams. I can go back and I can say that is one of the best rap songs
Absolutely.
I've probably ever heard. Actually, it's very influential, and because of that, I'll give it a B+. I'll give it a B+, almost an A, just from the fact that everyone knows Outkast and everyone knows this album from the fact that Miss Jackson and Gasoline Dreams and other songs are on it.
Yeah, they know it, even if they think that they don't. And
I mean, everyone knows Outkast.
Everyone
does.
Their songs are so huge, and I genuinely can't form a single complaint about this album. I just can't. Whenever I'm listening to it, what I feel, never anything negative. Shifting into the finality of it, overall review. What album do we think was best, and what album do we think had the best song? For me, no brainer. I think Bombs Over Baghdad is the best song. I think Stankonia is the best album.
I would agree with you. Stankonia was the best album of the three. My favorite song would probably have to be Gasoline Dreams. It's the first time hearing it, and it's already a banger for me. So,
absolutely. And this is a show we may have guests in the future. We haven't really decided that yet. We had a co-host who was supposed to be with us today, but he is currently out, Mr. Gerard Biner. Shout out to him for helping make this happen, despite his absence. There might be a little bit more we try to experiment with in the future in regards to how we pick the albums. That just depends on how much traction this can gain to start. But for now, I'm your host, Billy B, joined by my co-host, Dylan Hammett. This was Vinyl Verdict, first episode. There will definitely be more in the future.